guys, in this hair tutorial I'm going to be sharing with you how to create a braided ponytail. Janelle's hair, who is my model here, her hair has already been prepped. If you need to take a moment and watch back on our hair tutorial video on how to prep hair for ponytail placement, then you can go ahead and do that. In that video, we already cover how to actually place the hair, what products to use, what tools you need to use, and the whole process of getting to the point where we have Janelle's hair right now. In this tutorial, I'm going to be using synthetic hair for the braided attachment that I will be placing on her hair. And this is the hair that I'll be using. This is Serenity Easy Braid hair. It is synthetic hair. It's a little bit more on the silkier side, and I bought the hair already prepped. If you buy hair, for example, like Expression hair braid, you would have to go through the process of feathering out the hair to get to the place where the hair looks like that, because you cannot use the hair without it being feathered. It's not going to hold in the braid itself. So shortly, I'm going to go ahead and start the process of placing the hair and actually creating the braid itself. So the next thing I need to do is just to start the process of placing the hair. As the hair has already been prepped, we don't need to go ahead and do anything further aside from actually doing the braid itself. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start the process of placing the hair into the ponytail. As you can see, her hair is already tied quite tight, and we've left her hair out here. So all this hair is going to actually be braided in with the hair extension that we're actually going to be using. With my hair extension that I'm using, I've joined together 2 packets of hair here because I want the ponytail to be quite thick. You never really want the ponytail to be quite thin, so you want to have a good amount of hair extension in there. And I'm just holding it together just with this hairband here. So you want something that is going to allow you enough room to wrap around twice on the actual ponytail that you're working on, because you need a very secure hold. So I'm just going to place this over here and then just tie that in. And you want to maintain the person's hair should stay at the top and the extension can go underneath, okay? Because of how we're going to be braiding this in, we want this to look more natural once we actually start the process of braiding this in. So you want this to be nicely tucked in. It should feel nice and secure. If it feels loose, you just want to either take it out and then try and place it again. The other thing that can affect it, if the ponytail that you've created on the actual person's head is not secure enough and it's quite loose, this extension here and the ponytail itself is naturally not going to have that tight hold that we want. So you need to make sure that the first placement of placing the hair itself is nice and tight and secure, and then the actual extension that you put in there is tight in there as well. So if I just lift that up, you can see her hair is here at the top and the extension is just underneath here. I'm just going to lightly brush her own hair and then brush that extension a little bit. Now you have to be careful with your hair extension in terms of brushing it. If you don't prepare your hair extension the correct way or brush it properly, you'll start to lose a lot of that hair in there. So you need to be very gentle with this hair, okay? And the next thing we need to do now is to separate the hair extension itself into 3 parts. So this hair here, I'm going to section out into 3, and then the actual person's hair, so for my model's hair, I'm going to separate that into 3 sections as well, okay? But the first thing I need to do before I do that, I need to section out a small amount of hair that we're going to actually use to wrap around the base here. That is going to work to cover up the scrunchie or the elastic band that we use to tie the hair. So you need to decide how much you think you would need, because once you start to braid, you don't have any actual hair to then take out and use for the styling process. So I'm just going to take out quite a little bit more here just to make sure there isn't a risk of that not holding. And I'm just going to ask my model to hold this with your left hand. If you just bring that out, just hold that for me. Thank you. Right, now the next thing I need to do is to separate this hair into 3 sections. So you want to keep it as equal as you can, okay? So that you can get a nice even braid. So I'll just bring this over to this side. So have a feel, because you feel the thickness of both of the 3 sections. So I've got one section here, one to my right, to the right hand side, and then one just sitting right there in the middle. And we're literally going to do the exact same thing with Janelle's hair as well. We're going to separate that out into 3 sections. So I'm just going to tidy up here, because you always get a little bit of hair getting caught up into the scrunchie a little bit. So I'm just going to tidy that up so it looks a little bit more clean. Again, I'll just emphasize that sometimes working with the synthetic hair extension, it can easily get tangled up, so you just want to take your time. So now I'm just going to separate out 3 equal sections again, just like I did before with my hair extension. So I'll bring one over to the right hand side, and then this part here will go over to the left, and then I've got the hair just here in the middle. Again, I'll continue to brush that in. So just try your best to keep everything nice and tidy. Another thing that I might actually use is my mousse here. So the mousse is just going to help to control Janelle's hair, and also together with the hair extension once I start to braid, so that it doesn't have too much flyaways. And the mousse I just use is literally just the curling mousse that I use for curl defining. That's a Flora & Curl volumizing foam. So it could be any mousse that you could use at this point. It doesn't have to be anything specific. We just want it to aid with the process of styling. So right now I'm ready to start the braiding. So I'll just grab a hold of my 3 sections, okay? I'll start with my right hand section, taking that through behind the middle section. And I'll literally just start to braid. Just take your time. If you need to move the hair so that it sits properly, I'm just moving Janelle's hair and positioning it just on top of my extension so that I can see that blending in nicely with the braid itself. Because I'm working with so much hair, you know, my fingers are only so long. So I just have to be patient and take time and clean out the sections to make sure everything is nice and clean. If you need to take a moment and brush out the hair as you go, that's what you're gonna do, but just take your time. So I'll just continue this process here, combination of using my brush here. So I'm going to do what hairdressers normally do. We use our thighs to hold our dryers and our brushes sometimes. So I'm just going to place that here. And again, being mindful that her own hair is in this section here. Okay, there's some hair that I had loosened just a little bit. I'm also going to be using my edge control product to just slick any flyaways. So as I get to the end of where Janelle's hair stops, it's likely that the hair wants to kind of just stick out there. So I'm just applying a little bit of my edge control product to help with the process of keeping that in place. Again, if we need to brush, we'll continue with the brushing of the hair. And at this point, I'm just going to braid out this section all the way through. Okay, so once our braid has been completed, the next thing I need to work on is covering up this part of the hair that we don't want to see. So this is the point where we bring that hair that we separated out before. Just take your time again, just comb it through to make sure it's nice and smooth before you continue. Okay, so the final part is I'm going to just use the hair that we left out before to wrap around the perimeter of the plait where we started, and also wrap around the scrunchie here, so we can start to smooth that and cover up that hairband that we don't want to see. I'm just using, for products, I'm using a little bit of my mousse to help with the hair to create more like a smooth surface and wet the hair down slightly. When I get to the very ends here, I'm going to use a combination of my edge control product, which is the Mixed Cheeks Styling Tamer, and a little bit of my Got to Be Glued gel to just help to slick that and make sure that is nice and secure. And when I wrap this around, I am applying some tension and slight pull so that it creates a really nice tight finish at the base there. Okay, so just take your time and smooth it and wrap it around. Okay, so that's completely tucked in, and the last bit I'll do is to just trim this off. So normally with some of our extension we can dip it in hot water, so that seals the end of the braid that we've done. If you do it very well, you can easily just braid it all the way to the very ends and then just give it a little bit of a trim. And these little bits of hair that are like little flyaways, we can trim those down. And that will be pretty much the braided ponytail done. The other thing that I could do is apply a little bit of my foam product onto the hair, and then with my dryer I'm just going to smooth that over, just drying it over on medium heat and medium airflow, and that will just help to lay down the slightly flyaways that we see there in the hair. But this is pretty much how you do your braided ponytail placement and attachment, how you use your products to help you so that you don't have to actually use any hair grips in the actual hair itself. And just by positioning the person's own hair at the front instead of behind the extension, it gives us a little bit more like a natural blend with the braid when we do the process. So yeah, so that's how you create your braid.